Want a business that competition simply cannot touch? Forget stocks, forget real estate. Buy an airport. One way in, one way out. Everyone who wants to reach that city by air has to pay you. Nobody can build a second airport next door. It's physically and legally impossible. You're not competing. You just exist, and the world pays you for it. Sounds like the perfect setup. And honestly, it's almost true. The problem isn't the idea. The problem is everything that happens between the dream and reality. For most of history, only governments built airports, paid for with taxpayer money. But starting in the 1980s, that changed. Governments realized they were sitting on a gold mine, and private investors realized a monopoly with guaranteed traffic was exactly the kind of asset worth owning for the next 50 years. A wave of privatization swept through more than 90 countries. Today, over 850 airports worldwide have some form of private investment. In Europe, 76% of all passenger traffic runs through privately owned airports. In Latin America, it's 78%. The United States is almost the exact opposite. American airports remain owned by cities and states, largely because they're funded through tax-exempt bonds that private buyers can't access. Governments sell airports in three ways: an outright sale, a long-term concession lasting 40 to 99 years, or a public stock offering. Concessions are the most popular. Governments raise cash without fully giving up the asset. In 2002, Australia leased Sydney Airport for 99 years. 20 years later, a consortium of pension funds bought full control for nearly 32 billion Australian dollars, the largest infrastructure deal in the country's history. And that deal happened during a pandemic when air travel had nearly stopped. Why did the buyers think the price was fair? Because they weren't paying for this year's profits. They were paying for a monopoly that lasts decades. What if there's no airport for sale? Then you build one. And that's where the real pain starts. First, land. A modern international airport needs 50 to 140 square kilometers of flat, legally cleared territory. Denver International Airport alone covers an area bigger than the entire city of San Francisco. Just acquiring that land and relocating everyone on it costs hundreds of millions before a single foundation is poured. Then, the runway. This isn't a road. It's an engineered structure built to survive a 400-ton aircraft landing on it tens of thousands of times a year for a century. A single major runway in a developed country costs over $1 billion. Heathrow's proposed third runway was estimated at $13 to $18 billion on a site where the rest of the infrastructure already exists. Terminals aren't buildings. They're small cities. Underground baggage networks, air conditioning moving millions of cubic meters of air per hour, security checkpoints built to government explosive detection standards. Beijing Daxing cost roughly $17 billion. Istanbul's new airport cost around $12 billion just for its first phase. And even then, you're not done. Environmental reviews, public hearings, and legal challenges routinely add 3 to 5 years and hundreds of millions of dollars before the first plane ever lands. Here's the moment that destroys more airport projects than anything else. When you borrow money to build, and you always borrow, interest starts accruing the day the loan lands, not the day the airport opens, not the day the first plane touches down, the day the money arrives. Every month of delay is a month of paying interest on billions of dollars while earning nothing. Berlin Brandenburg Airport was supposed to open in October 2011. It finally opened in October 2020, 9 years late. The budget ballooned from roughly 2 billion euros to about 7 billion. The cause wasn't strikes or weather. The smoke extraction fire safety system simply didn't work. It had been integrated too late, failed test after test, and every failure triggered a new redesign. Cables had been laid without proper documentation, making inspections nearly impossible without tearing out finished work. Escalators were miscalculated. The roof leaked. None of these problems were catastrophic on their own. Together, they cost 9 years and 4 extra billion euros. Denver went through something similar in the 1990s. The airport opened 16 months late because an automated baggage system kept shredding luggage during testing. Every day of delay cost the city around $1.1 million. The airport finally opens. Money flows in from 2 very different sources. The first is aeronautical revenue, fees airlines pay to land, fees per departing passenger, fees to park aircraft. At Heathrow, a wide-body landing costs an airline around $9,000, plus roughly $55 per departing passenger. Sounds like solid money, but there's a catch. Governments almost everywhere cap these fees tightly because the airport is a monopoly, and unregulated, it could charge whatever it wanted. The UK's regulator cut Heathrow's allowed passenger charge by nearly 20% for the 2022 to 2026 period. Heathrow fought it in court and lost. That's exactly why every major privatized airport has built a second business the regulator can't touch: everything that isn't the runway. Globally, this non-aeronautical revenue makes up about 37% of total airport income, sometimes over 40% in Europe and Asia, and it's growing faster than passenger numbers. In the US, the single biggest source is parking. Dallas-Fort Worth pulled in $251 million from parking alone in 1 year. Los Angeles brought in around $181 million. Then add retail, food, car rentals, hotels. Retail runs on a minimum guarantee model. A shop in the terminal pays either a fixed cut of its sales, usually 16 to 20%, or a guaranteed minimum, whichever is higher. The airport is protected on a bad year and cashes in big on a good one. And terminal design is engineered to make you spend. Right after security, the most stressful moment of the trip, you enter a deliberate decompression zone. Lower ceilings, softer lighting, wider corridors. The signal to your brain: the stress is over. It's safe to relax and to spend. Many terminals give you no direct route from security to the gate, only through duty-free. That forced walk boosts sales by up to 60%. And since most people pull luggage with their right hand and drift right, walkways are often curved left, so your eyes stay on the shops the whole way. All that revenue looks great on paper. The catch is what it costs to keep it running. Security equipment must meet government standards that only get stricter. X-ray scanners, explosive detectors, body scanners. Around 41% of airports worldwide report serious financial strain purely from mandated security upgrades. The baggage system runs underground around the clock, burning enormous amounts of electricity. Utility bills rival those of several city blocks of office space running non-stop. Firefighting crews stay staffed at 3 a.m. for a single delayed cargo flight. In colder climates, add a fleet of snowplows and de-icers on permanent standby. None of it scales down with traffic. Whether 20 million passengers come through or 10 million, the lights stay on, security stays open, the runway gets cleared. Only the revenue changes. Early 2020 delivered the worst possible scenario for a business built on massive fixed costs and variable revenue. By April, 66% of the world's commercial aircraft were grounded. Industry passenger revenue fell by $418 billion, down 69% year over year. The runway didn't close. Loan payments didn't pause. Rent stayed the same. Revenue collapsed to almost nothing. Retailers locked into minimum guarantee contracts simply couldn't pay. Zero sales meant honoring the guarantee would have bankrupted them. Smart airports switched tenants to pure percentage of sales deals to keep the retail ecosystem alive for when travel returned. Some terminals converted to cargo hubs, loading freight directly into empty passenger cabins. There's one category of mistake more expensive and more embarrassing than any other: the ghost airport. Built, opened, and never filled because the demand was never really there. Ciudad Real in Spain was built during the mid-2000s construction boom as an alternative to Madrid-Barajas, one of the longest runways in Europe, a terminal built for 10 million passengers a year. Investors believed Madrid was running out of capacity. It opened in 2008. Within 2 years, the operator went bankrupt. By 2012, it was closed. Airlines simply didn't want to fly to a city of 75,000 people, 200 kilometers from the market they actually needed. At auction, a bid of just 10,000 euros for the billion-euro structure was rejected by the court. It eventually sold in 2018 for 56 million euros, roughly 5% of what it cost to build. Today, it's a storage yard for retired aircraft. An even starker case is Matala Rajapaksa International Airport in Sri Lanka. Built for $209 million with a loan from a Chinese state bank, designed for 1 million passengers a year. Today, it handles roughly a dozen passengers a day, while the government still owes about $24 million a year in debt payments. Part of the terminal has been rented out to store rice. In both cases, the mistake was identical. The airport was built on political ambition instead of actual route data. Nobody asked the airlines first, and airlines are very good at knowing exactly where passengers want to go. Now look at what it looks like when it's done right. Spain's Aena Group runs 46 airports domestically, plus assets in Brazil and the UK. In 2024, it reported 5.8 billion euros in revenue, with an EBITDA margin of 60%. For comparison, a 10% margin is considered healthy in most industries. Aena's network handled 369.5 million passengers that year, roughly 1 million a day. Frankfurt tells a similar story. It's one of Europe's essential connecting hubs. Airlines could technically avoid it, but they can't afford to, because too many of their connecting passengers depend on that exact transfer point. That's the real difference between a small airport and a large one. A small airport needs the airlines. A large one becomes a place airlines simply cannot ignore. The next generation of airports is being built differently. The Aerotropolis model flips the logic. Instead of building a city and adding an airport, you build the city around the airport. Logistics parks, hotels, and manufacturing clustered around fast air access. Inside the terminal, the future is about eliminating friction. Biometric face scanning is replacing passport checks and boarding queues. The goal is simple. Less time waiting in line means more time and more money spent in the shops. If you ever decide to buy an airport, understand what you're actually buying. It's not a business in the usual sense. It's a piece of infrastructure that forces every airline in the city to pay you, forces every traveler to walk through your shops, and forces every driver to park on your land. In the right city, at the right scale, with the right management, it's one of the most durable positions in global business. The only real question is, can you survive long enough to get there?